What's up, Gotcha Gang? Kawaii50 here with another FGO video, here to talk with you about the 4-star foreigner, Mysterious Heroine XX. If you enjoy this video, please consider talking some FGO with us down in the Discord link below, and maybe check me out on Patreon. I did add some new tiers recently to provide extra content to you all. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, we'll kick this video off by looking at XX's deck and stats. XX's deck is a quick Arts Buster deck with an Arts type Noble Phantasm. So she has an ability to do some fantastic Arts Brave chains. Looking at her HP and attack, her HP is pretty decent at 11,250 at max level. Her attack is also on the higher side at 9,751 when maxed out. Her star absorption is on the higher side as well at 147 with a 15% star gen on hit. But we'll talk about stars and XX just later in the video. Stars are going to be working a little wonkier with her. But her NP gain is actually really good. 3 hits on each of her Arts cards, the ability to Arts Brave Chain followed by a 4-hit extra attack means if you play your cards right, if you have maybe an NP charge skill or two, it's not uncommon to use XX's Noble Phantasm and follow it up on the next turn with another Noble Phantasm. Now XX actually has a plethora of passive skills under her belt. 4 of them you can see right here. Entity of the Outer Realm is pretty nice, an extra 2 stars per turn never hurt. Cosmo Reactor B, 8% crit star drop rate. She's already got a really good crit star drop rate at base, so this just makes that even better. Independent Action Rank A grants a critical strength boost, so you'll find her dealing some decent amounts of damage as a result of that, but like I said, we've got to talk about stars as their own thing in just a bit. And Riding Rank A increases her quick card effectiveness by 10%, also effectively increasing her star drop rate with that single quick card she has with the 4 hits it has. XX's first skill is Suit Up Rank EX. This applies Invincible to her for 1 turn and also increases her attack by 30 to 50% for 1 turn. Now you're going to find this as a staple among all of XX's skills. The fact that they only last for 1 turn, so you got to make sure you're really using them in the moments when it counts. Now, the upsetting thing about Suit Up is it is tied to her attack boost, so you're actually more often than not going to be using this on the turn she uses her Noble Phantasm, rather than using it to help her survivability. This means that she won't always have the best survivability against a lot of opponents, and you're really going to need to use your supports to account for that. That attack boost is just too good to use this skill for the survivability unless you're in a really dire situation. Go ahead and max this skill second so you can get a 5-turn cooldown on it, which will help out quite a bit. Now, I said we were going to talk about stars, and the reason we're talking about stars is because of this unique skill XX has. Police Instincts Rank E gains critical stars for your team, 10 to 20 depending on level. But on top of that, this also has the bonus of decreasing XX's critical star gather rate for 1 turn. This has a 50% absorption reduction at base and goes all the way up to 100% at rank 10, meaning that XX will not gain any stars before any of your other characters. You need to hit that golden 50-star cap in order to have XX gain any stars after using this skill the turn she uses it. Now, this skill allows XX to work really well with some other crit servants you might have on your team, effectively feeding them those stars at max level completely easily. She's not going to get any of those stars. They're all going to go to your other primary attacker when you need them to go to them. And on a 4-turn cooldown, this is actually going to happen pretty frequently. I recommend you max this last, not necessarily to gain those extra stars, it doesn't scale super well, only grants 1 star per turn, but to get that star absorption reduction so you can funnel those stars where you need them most, when you need them most. 100% reduction is just absurd. And XX's final skill is Justice of the World's End Rank A. This applies Ignore Invincible to her for 1 turn, increases her NP gauge by 20 to 30%, and applies a special attack bonus against threats to humanity, a 30 to 50% damage bonus. Now this is Double X's strongest skill, mainly for that NP gauge boost. A 30% NP steroid on an art servant is going to mean you're going to be able to have your Noble Phantasm pretty much whenever you need it to. And if you pair this with a starting NP gauge CE, you can easily have Double X use her Noble Phantasm immediately, get that attack boost, and deal a bunch of damage. So definitely go ahead and max this first. Bring its cooldown down to 5 turns so you can get 30% NP gauge on demand every 5 turns. Double X's Noble Phantasm is actually pretty great. Ether Space Yet Lawful deals 900 to 1500% damage to a single enemy, and also deals an extra 150% damage to Sabre class servants. She still doesn't get class advantage, but it's an extra little bit of damage. Most importantly, on Overcharge, this increases her attack by 20 to 60%, and this activates before the damage from the Noble Phantasm is dealt. Now, if you end up coupling this with, say, a maxed out Suit Up skill, that is going to be a crazy 70% attack boost at base, meaning this Noble Phantasm and all subsequent cards after it are going to really hurt. And yes, whenever possible, you want to use this Noble Phantasm in a Brave Chain for Double X, so you can make the most out of those 1-turn attack boosts. So I'm sure the question on all of your minds is, who do we pair Heroine Double X with? Well, because she has that defensive bonus against Berserkers, we can essentially bring her along with any critting servants on quests where we have to fight a very powerful Berserker, because Heroine Double X is going to stick around and be able to help out immensely. Now, of course, you can focus on her main damage and bring along servants like Tamamo no Mai and Caster Gilgamesh in order to increase that. But I'm instead going to focus this video around her Police Instinct skill, her unique skill, and sort of give you characters who can really benefit from that. Not only characters who oftentimes get a ton of damage from crits, but we're also going to pepper in there a couple of characters who do not have a naturally high star weight, and the fact that Heroine Double X can reduce her star gather rate to 0 means these characters are going to have very powerful burst turns where they can deal a ton of crit damage. Let's of course start with the freebies. Let's of course start with one of the most popular 3-star characters in the entire game, one of the only limited 3 stars, Okada Ezo. Okada Ezo is an assassin class servant, so he doesn't have a lot of star absorption at base. It's okay, but it could be better, and you're going to find supports are taking stars away from him. You can use Heroine Double X's skill on a single burst turn, which is what Okada Ezo is designed to do, deal damage on single burst turns. Combine that with his 2 critical strength buffs and his special attack against humanoids, and you're going to get some powerful burst damage turns out of everyone's favorite garbage raccoon samurai. Talking about 2 more freebies, some freebie 4-stars, she will pair very well with Ryogi Shiki Assassin as well as Chloe von Einsburn. Shiki is focused around single turns of Art's burst damage with her first skill, and she does have a critical strength buff tied to her Mind's Eye Fake skill. Plus independent action rank A, she can deal some significant critical damage on follow-up attacks. As far as Chloe von Einsburn goes, she still remains one of the best single-target archers in the entire game. She has the ability to buff her skills with her own NP steroid, and her projection combined with her Mind's Eye Fake skill can give her some incredibly powerful critical focus turns. Both of these freebie servants can benefit from Double X's second skill. Now, there are 2 4-star servants I want to specifically mention that can really benefit from her second skill as well, and that is Sabre Lancelot as well as Ashwatama. Sabre Lancelot is still pretty much the king of single-target sabers. I would honestly consider him better than a lot of the 5-star sabers in the game as well. He has absolutely everything he needs to completely destroy and decimate his enemies. His ability to deal critical arts damage and loop his Noble Phantasm is still pretty much unparalleled to this day. So giving him the opportunity to get even more critical stars on single turns and make sure those stars are funneled to him is going to be absolutely absurd. And we can even sort of extend this to Ashwatama as well. Ashwatama is designed to crit from the ground up, and being able to funnel those stars to him is going to be immensely helpful. He's got a passive crit strength boost. He's got passive crit strength boost on his buster cards. He's got a skill that increases the crit strength of his quick cards as well. This man is just designed to be a critical damage firing machine, so he is going to benefit from that police instincts skill. And finally, we can also pair her with the king of challenge quests, the 5-star ruler, the ultimate life form, Chinchi Wong. Chinchi Wong's Noble Phantasm, the Domination Beginning, is busted down to its base. Invincibility, target focus, a critical strength boost, a crit star gather rate boost, and increasing his attack, that attack boost 50% to 100%. That critical strength boost, 50 to 100%. On top of that, he can charge his own attack. Chinchi Wong is who I rated as the absolute best character to come out this year on my Best Servants of 2020 video. Being able to funnel him stars on demand after he uses the Domination Beginning means he is going to absolutely eviscerate those challenge quests. He doesn't have class advantage, you say? It doesn't matter. Now let's talk about those craft essences you can use to bring Double X's attack to the next level. The absolute best craft essences you can give her are the ones that give her a starting NP steroid so she can use her Noble Phantasm faster out of the gate. And the best one I've got to recommend is Devilish Bodhisattva. Devilish Bodhisattva, in addition to granting a starting NP steroid, also increases the overcharge level of her first Noble Phantasm by 2 steps. This means when she uses Ether Space Yet Lawful the first time in the fight, that is going to grant a 40% attack boost. You go ahead and you couple that with her Suit Up skill, that is going to be a 90% attack boost on her chain following that Noble Phantasm. It's a great way to get some burst damage straight out of the gate and have Double X really go in on whatever opponent she decides needs to die that very first turn. You can, of course, give her other NP steroid skills. K-Scope is always a good choice that will allow you to use her Noble Phantasm turn 1 without having to commit to using any supports. And on top of that, you can also give her Golden Sumo Boulder Tournament for just a flat attack boost across the board. There is, of course, the 2 really strong Arts Summer freebie craft essences, Painting Summer and Dive to Blue as well. If you use those in an Arts chain with Double X's Noble Phantasm, there is powerful potential to use her Noble Phantasm twice in these turns, though you have to remember that using that Noble Phantasm the second time is not going to benefit from the attack boost she would get from her first skill, because it's on cooldown. Now gang, it can be very difficult to recommend command codes for Heroine XX just because of the unique place she occupies in the meta. On some turns, she is a very powerful single target attacker, and on other turns, she is your supporter servant, helping another character deal damage when they need it most. But there are a couple of codes we can recommend to power her up. The first I want to recommend is Cosmic Balance, which plays into some of her strengths. Cosmic Balance increases the damage against threat to humanity enemies by 10% on the engraved card, and it also increases the damage Saber enemies take by 10% of the engraved card. This both plays into one of her skills, as well as her Noble Phantasm's effective bonus, so you can chuck that on her if you really like that gimmick and want to get more out of it. I can also recommend to you Holy Knight's Aurora Borealis to sort of give an extra boost to that supporter type role you would want to use Heroine XX in. Holy Knight's Aurora Borealis grants 4 critical stars whenever you attack using that engraved card. You can chuck this on her quick card and make sure you get some extra stars when you are trying to generate them. And finally, I'd also like to recommend Sword of the Beginning and the End. This is just a flat 1000 damage boost on whatever card you are using. You can chuck this on the cards that are following up the Noble Phantasm that Heroine XX is using, just to squeeze a little bit of extra damage out of those cards. Overall, I do find Heroine XX a very, very fun character to use, but she is a character where to pull out her max effectiveness, it requires work. It requires you really doubling down on your knowledge of the game and building teams around her to gain the most effectiveness from her supportiveness. Now, some players might really like that. Some players might really like to play around with her skills and find out the best burst turns they can use to maximize that damage. Other players might prefer just a more straightforward approach, might just want to use her as a damage dealer, or might just not want to use her altogether because there are more straightforward supportive options out there in the game. That is fine. Definitely play the game how you want. But Heroine XX is by no means bad, not even close to it. She just provides a sort of sideways step in the meta, a different, unique way to pull out some of the best potential in your other servants. And I think she was a really good and fun addition to the game. Of course, let me know your thoughts on Heroine XX down in the comment section below. Go ahead and let me know maybe if you're summoning for her. I managed to pull an NP2XX myself, and that 1200% Noble Phantasm damage has been very, very good to see. Also, let me know if you're pulling for any summer servants, and if you're a JP player that's watching this, maybe you play both versions, let me know how excited you are for some of those summer announcements. I myself cannot wait to take Summer Yu Miaoyoi for a spin. This is Kawaii 50, hoping you have a phenomenal day. I'll see y'all in the next one.